May they forever wear black, forever wear it, forever wear it. In 1975, in a quiet mountain village at the foot of Zlatibor, a series of inexplicable events began. Nothing like this had ever happened in the area before, and I sincerely hope it never will again, for it was tragedy after tragedy, still remembered to this day. In 1975, a young man named Ivan got married, the only son of a then respectable family, just shy of 19 years old. He had finished railway school and worked as a conductor, though his father had also taught him watchmaking, so he could repair clocks too. Ivan was a cheerful lad, with a beautiful smile and a real magnet for the opposite sex. The girls noticed and adored him. He especially stood out at dances and celebrations because, as those who knew him said, he captivated with his presence and radiated such energy that girls raced to stand next to him in the dance circle, and to be clear, he loved women too and enjoyed their company. However, as I mentioned, at not quite 19, Radisa married and brought home a young bride from a nearby village named Milanka. It was somewhat unexpected given his youth and reputation as a ladies' man. But as he said himself, Milanka was skilled and persistent in winning him over. My grandfather knew Milanka personally and told me she wasn't a beauty, but she was good with men and had a strong determination to achieve her goals. She desperately wanted Ivan. She didn't give up until she had him. They married in April. Guests whispered that day that Milanka was pregnant, as her belly was noticeable. It was a big deal then, but everything was more or less as it should be. After the wedding, they initially lived a quiet, ordinary life. Ivan worked the Novi Sad route while Milanka stayed at home. She managed the household, cared for her pregnancy, got along with his parents, and he would. Every day, she waited with a smile for him to return from work, and to everyone who knew them, they seemed happy. But as they say, you can never know what's happening behind closed doors. However, in 1975, they had a baby girl, whom they named Vera, a little angel, who brought much joy to their home. Ivan was overjoyed, and on November 1st, he threw a huge party attended by my grandfather and all the village youth, one by one. That day was long talked about, as Radisa brought trumpeters, including the famous Milovan, Western Serbia's best trumpeter. Everything was perfect. The celebration went smoothly, and what's more important, Milanka and little Vera were doing well. Then came Friday, November 14th, a holiday for many, the feast day of Saints Cosmas and Damian, also known as the Healers. That day, Ivan was chopping wood in front of the house, stacking it under a small shelter. Winter was approaching, and the house needed to be kept warm, especially for the baby. Milanka was home with her daughter and Ivan's parents. As dusk approached, while Ivan was still at work, their yard gate creaked open. He glanced at the gate and saw a young woman entering the courtyard. The woman acted strangely, looking around uncertainly, as if unsure where she was. He stepped towards her to ask who she was looking for, but as he got closer and saw her clearly, Ivan suddenly turned pale as a sheet and froze in place. Then she approached him and spoke softly. "Hello, Ivan. Remember me?" He silently looked her up and down, noticing a large belly beneath her coat. The woman was pregnant. As he saw her belly, he dropped the axe he was holding like a man who'd seen a ghost, and stumbled backwards towards home. The girl called his name through tears 2 or 3 times, begging him to stop. But he rushed into the house and slammed the door. His wife Milanka instantly knew something was wrong. Ivan looked pale, breathless, and terrified. She asked what happened, but he stayed silent, avoiding her eyes. He peeked out the window, so Milanka went to check. She saw a pregnant girl outside. "Good afternoon. Who are you looking for?" "Hello, I'm here to see Ivan." "What do you want with him?" "I need to talk to him." "What do you have to discuss with him? Who are you?" "Please tell him to come out. This is between us." "Listen, I'm his wife. If you've got something to say, tell me." Realizing she faced Radisa's wife, the pregnant girl grew visibly upset, tearful. Tearfully, she began to explain, insisting she hadn't known he was married. Milanka cut her off, angrily demanding what she wanted from her husband. The girl wiped her tears, clutching her belly. "I'm pregnant with Ivan's child," she said. "We met at the Uzich fair. He seduced me, never mentioning a wife. I'd never been with anyone else. He promised marriage, but he used me. Still, this is his child." As she spoke, Ivan's face reddened. At first, she didn't say a word. She rushed into the house, pushed Ivan out, and brought him to the girl. Furious like a lynx, she demanded, "What's going on? Who is she? When did you get her pregnant, you wretch?" Wait, slow down, Milanka." Ivan stammered. "I don't know this woman. I've never seen her before." "Calm down, woman. What's wrong with you? Don't lie to her like you lied to me, Ivan. You know me well. You spoke sweetly, promised marriage. Now you claim you don't know me? Woman, this is the first time I've seen you. You gave me the wrong address. I barely found you." No, that's not true. Shame on you, liar. God is my witness. I speak the truth." As Ivan clumsily defended himself, Milanka watched him, realizing deep down that the girl was telling the truth. Her husband, father of her child, fathered another. Though unfaithful, she stood by him that afternoon to save their marriage. She grabbed the girl's hand, hissing, "Shame on you. This is a respectable home. He's an honest man. Someone else got you pregnant, and you're here to trap my husband? He has a child with me, his only child. You liar. You better go back to the one you gave yourself to. I don't want to see you at my doorstep again." The desperate girl fell to her knees, begging Ivan to at least acknowledge the child. She repeated that she couldn't go home because her father would kill her. Ivan listened silently, while Milanka kept shouting, insulting and cursing the girl, driving her from the yard. Finally, in anger, she struck the girl, who fell into the mud from the force of the blow. She grabbed her hand, and practically dragged her through the gate onto the road. Ivan tried to stop Milanka from hurting the girl, but got slapped and became a silent bystander. Milanka dragged him inside, locked the door, leaving the crying, wet, muddy girl alone outside. It soon got dark, so no one saw what happened next. It's unclear when exactly the girl left. The next few days somehow passed. During this time, things were quiet. Milanka was furious and worried, while Ivan stayed silent, pretending all was well when it clearly wasn't. Then came the 18th, November Tuesday, 4 o'clock. A day later at dusk, everyone was home when the yard gate opened and an angry male voice was heard. "Ivan! Ivan, come out, you wretch! I know you're home." Ivan emerges. His wife Milanka follows. They see an older woman and a young man approaching, both pale and visibly distraught. Both in black, the man yells furiously, while the old woman wails, "Ivan, is it you, you wretch? May thunder strike you and me with you, poor and miserable." Ivan's parents stand at the doorway. Little Vera starts crying in her crib. Milanka, seeing trouble brewing, angrily and decisively approaches the pair, Who are you? What do you want? Leave us be. First that woman, now you. Why are you hounding us? Ivan steps forward saying, I am Ivan. Why have you come? The old woman falls to her knees, wailing. The young man reaches behind, pulls out a gun and aims at Ivan. So it's you. I'll kill you like dogs. I'll kill you. Shoot if you must, but first tell me who you are and what you want in my yard. As Ivan lost his nerve, chaos ensued. Ivan's mother, seeing her son held at gunpoint by a stranger, rushed from the house. She stood between them, yelling at the man to shoot her instead, to spare her child no matter what, because he too has a baby in the cradle. These words enraged the old woman in black. Your son has a child, you say? He matters to you? Your grandson's father matters, but my daughter and grandchild don't? Is that it? They're insignificant. They don't matter to anyone, not to you, not even to him. But Ivan's mother then roared that they don't know who their daughter is or what she wants from them. The old woman continued, My poor daughter hanged herself on a tree. She killed herself, her own child, all because of him, because of your son's arrogance. She took her life, ended our lineage, killed us while we live, all because of him. She couldn't face coming home from shame. She was a good girl. She hanged herself on a pear tree behind our barn and ended her young life. She was only 22. Do you know what it's like to cut down your child's body, woman, and to know it's too late that they're gone? Curse you all. When Ivan heard what happened, he approached the young man still holding the gun, grabbed the barrel, pressed it to his forehead and said, Shoot, shoot, please. As the young man's hand trembled, seconds from pulling the trigger, Milanka, Ivan's wife, shouted at Ivan, What are you doing, you fool? Get away from that gun. This is just a continuation of the recent farce. You've done nothing wrong. That child wasn't yours. These poor people are just looking for someone to blame for the tragedy that befell them. Her words must have angered the young man, a relative of the unfortunate girl. He cocked the gun, ready to fire, but the old woman intervened. She lowered his pistol from Ivan's forehead, saying, No, stop, son. Don't do this. Shoot? That's too light a sentence. Let them suffer, all of them. I curse you to feel my pain, to mourn your children. May God give you more only to lose them, never find peace. The old woman fell again, grabbed 2 stones, smashed them and cried to the sky, May you wear black forever, forever, forever. The young man holstered his gun, helped the old woman up, and they left the courtyard. At the gate, the old woman turned back, muttered something and spat towards them. Milanka ran, cursing them. He said more, but they didn't turn back. They quietly walked on, disappearing down the road. A year passed. Ivan's life normalized, but they never saw the old woman and young man again. All seemed usual, except Ivan was more serious now. He rarely laughed, becoming quieter and more reserved. His daughter, little Vera, was a healthy, cheerful child. Milanka was overprotective, as if her defiant, proud nature thought she could control everything. But she was gravely mistaken. At 3, Vera ran happily in a meadow near a grove by their house, playing innocently while her parents harvested potatoes, unaware of the old woman's curse, a mother's curse in black. Around that time, Ivan's cousin, his uncle's son, came home on leave from the army. He was a young, handsome, and very kind man, they said. His unfortunate father told my grandfather this story. So, the young man on leave wanted to go hunting, as he often did. He took his father's rifle to Ginia against army rules. He thought nothing bad could happen,
as he'd hunted many times before without issues. Sadly, he was gravely mistaken. The hunter walked along the forest edge, spotted some game in the bushes and aimed. He fired. On the other side, little Vera played with her doll near Ivan and Milanka, carefree. A shot rang out, and the girl fell into the grass. Her parents were confused, thinking she just tripped, but the child didn't get up, just lay motionless. Ivan found this suspicious, ran over and knelt beside the girl. Then he saw. Blood poured from her head. He screamed and took her in his arms. Sadly, as he carried her home in his arms, the little girl's body went limp and she died. This terrible news shocked the entire village. Everyone broke down. They wept and mourned for the young, innocent life lost. Military police took Ivan's cousin away for trial. Ivan didn't press charges, so he was freed. No one understood how the bullet traveled through the dense forest so precisely, giving the child no chance to survive. Countless people attended little Vera's funeral, both known and unknown. The small white coffin was carried from the yard to the village cemetery. The sorrow was immeasurable. Milanka wailed in grief, while Ivan paced in circles, completely distraught. They erected a small monument at the local cemetery in memory of their daughter. However, this wasn't the end. Less than a year after the tragedy, Milanka gave birth to another child, a son named Zeliko. The parents were overjoyed. This child was a gift, helping them cope with their first loss. Little Zeliko grew up resembling his father, a charming boy loved by all. As years passed, life seemed to normalize, and a smile returned to Ivan's face. Eventually, only Milanka, Ivan, and Zeliko remained at home. As Ivan's parents passed away from old age, there was nothing unusual about that. And many years later, Zeliko had fully grown up, finished school, got a job, and got engaged. The wedding was already scheduled. He was 22 years old then. Ivan had finally forgotten all his troubles and was slowly preparing the wedding for his only son. He was looking forward to his grandchildren, as it was time for him to become a grandfather. However, it was November 14th, a holiday, St. Cosmas and Damian, or You're a Sorcerer. Zeliko got into his car and headed to the city to meet with his best man to finalize all the details about the wedding.
But unfortunately, he never got to meet him. As it was said, he was driving on the right part of the road he had traveled on, who knows how many times before. However, for reasons never established, he crossed into the left lane, broke through the double protective fence, and crashed into the abyss. He died at 22 years old, and how great the tragedy was is already needless to say. It was determined that he was not alone. There were no witnesses to see what happened. No one knew anything. He just fell as if some force led him to death, or maybe not. Damn. Another flower-filled coffin left Ivan's yard, as Milanka held a funeral instead of a wedding for her only son. Zeliko was buried next to his sister Bera. In the days after his death, Ivan and Milanka realized all their misfortune was due to a curse. The old woman's curse. The hanged girl's curse. With their son's death, they too died inside, walking corpses. Ivan tried to end his life twice, but it wasn't his time. He died years later, collapsing while mowing the yard. Milanka died in bed, consumed by grief, 2 years after her husband. Relatives buried her by the children, leaving no one behind. Their house faded. All they had overgrown with weeds and sorrow. Well, this is the story of Ivan and the curse that the woman in black cast on his house. Everything you've heard is true. known to all villagers, especially the older ones who remember Ivan, Malanka, and their children. My grandfather told me all of this. He personally knew Ivan, Malanka, and even their parents. Whether it's coincidence, fate, or the result of a curse, I don't know. In fact, no one can truly know. However, one fact stands out, sounding eerie and too improbable to be mere chance. Namely, the pregnant girl who hanged herself. She was 22 years old and hanged herself on November 14th on Vraka. Ivan's daughter died, and then his son perished too. He also died on November 14th, November. Moreover, like the girl, he was only 22 years old at the time of his death.